Welcome back to NASCAR Wire Report. And if there was ever a race that demanded we sit down and break everything apart, it is this one. Because what happened at the Daytona 500 was not just dramatic. It was not just wild. It felt like something genuinely shifted inside this sport in those final seconds under the lights at Daytona International Speedway. And here at NASCAR Wire Report, we are not going to gloss over it. We are going to talk about all of it. The finish, the anger, the emotion, and the much bigger question that is now sitting in the middle of the NASCAR garage. Because this was not just about one last lap wreck. This felt like months of frustration finally reaching a breaking point. And what came out of that garage after the race tells you everything you need to know about where this sport stands right now. Let's get into it. The final lap, chaos under the lights. The Daytona 500 is supposed to be the crown jewel of the entire NASCAR season. The race you circle on the calendar all winter long. The one that reminds you exactly why you fell in love with this sport in the first place. And the finish we got delivered drama unlike anything most fans have seen in years, but not necessarily in the way anyone wanted. Coming to the white flag, Carson Hocevar had control of the lead. He was in position, and then he gets turned into the wall. No immediate caution. The field keeps charging at full speed. Elliott surges ahead coming off turn 4. For one extraordinary split second, it looks like Elliott is about to pull off the biggest win of his career at the biggest race of the year. And then he gets wrecked. Behind him, Herbst throws a block. Keselowski has a massive run, a huge, momentum-filled run, and suddenly it is just metal folding everywhere. Cars smashing across the start-finish line. Joey Logano crossing the stripe going backwards. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. scraping the wall. Keselowski limping home in 5th with his nose completely destroyed, somehow slipping through the smoke like something out of a movie. And Reddick crosses the line first. But here is what hit hardest about that moment. He did not celebrate. He said he did not even know if he had won. He was not sure whether the caution lights were already on before he reached the start-finish line. Think about that for a second. Imagine crossing the finish line at the Daytona 500 and being afraid to smile because you think the win might get taken away from you. That one moment says everything about how chaotic and uncertain that finish truly felt. Reddick, more than just a trophy. For Reddick, this was never just about a race win. This was deeply personal. This is a driver who grew up in California, never missing a single Daytona 500 broadcast. A kid sitting with his family every February dreaming about what it would feel like to race here. He talked about the first time he tested an ARCA car at Daytona and how surreal that moment felt just being on that track. Now he is a Cup Series driver racing for 23XI Racing, the team co-owned by Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, with expectations to compete at the front every single week. And he was honest about how difficult last season had been. No wins. A drought that tested him. Looking in the mirror as a team and fighting real pressure and real doubt. And on top of all of that, his newborn son had been dealing with serious health issues. He said the only time he had ever felt emotions like what he felt at Daytona was when he won the pole at the Charlotte Roval while his son was in the hospital. That is the weight this man was carrying into the biggest race of the year. And before the race, his son asked him, "Are you finally going to win this race?" That is not just a trophy sitting in a display case. That is legacy. That is 3 generations of family sacrifice and belief paying off in one moment under the lights at Daytona. And here at NASCAR Wire Report, that story deserves to be told the right way. The anger in the garage, real and raw. But while Reddick was processing one of the most emotional wins of his life, the garage around him was burning with frustration. And the drivers involved did not hold back. Elliott did not hide anything. He said it plainly. His team was leading the Daytona 500 coming off turn 4 with the checkered flag in sight, and they did not win. That is disbelief. That is heartbreak speaking out loud without a filter. Keselowski was furious. He called the block from the number 35 car one of the most unnecessary moves he had ever seen at that level. He believed he had the run to seriously challenge for the win. And in his view, a desperate block wiped out his chance and caused chaos that did not need to happen. Herbst defended himself. He said he chose his lane, got pushed, and was simply doing what every driver at Daytona does, trying to win the race. And Reddick himself even acknowledged that Herbst did exactly what he needed to do for himself in that moment. So who is right? That is the question. And the answer is, This goes way beyond one block and one finish line moment. The bigger issue is the next-gen package breaking Daytona. Here at NASCAR Wire Report, we have to talk about the conversation that is now happening inside the garage. Because what we saw at the Daytona 500 is not just about individual decisions made in the final seconds. It is about a racing package that is fundamentally changing what super speedway racing looks like. All race long, drivers were not racing at full throttle. They were managing fuel, lifting, riding in tight formation, glued together in massive packs. And the reason is simple. The current next-gen package has made super speedway racing almost perfectly equal. Equal drag, equal horsepower, equal downforce. The cars are so aerodynamically planted that drivers barely need to lift through the corners. And when nobody lifts, the field stays stacked. 3 wide. 4 wide. Cars separated by inches at 200 miles per hour. Passing no longer comes from raw driving ability or superior car setup. It comes from pit strategy, from fuel conservation, from timing your move to hit the right moment of chaos. And at Daytona, that means the biggest race of the year ends with half the top 5 wrecking across the finish line. Even Denny Hamlin, a race-winning team owner at the highest level, said it plainly. The sport might need to increase speeds and make handling matter again. He talked about removing spoiler downforce and slowing cars in the corners so drivers are forced to lift. More lifting creates separation. More separation brings individual skill back into the equation and reduces pure pack dependency. He even floated the idea of bringing the Clash back to Daytona and giving drivers a package that eliminates fuel saving entirely. Just hang on and drive. That is a massive statement from someone with his level of experience and credibility inside the sport. Because the feeling inside the garage right now is that drivers feel trapped. They cannot create separation on their own. They cannot build a run without a push. You need teammates. You need someone else to move first. You are dependent on the chaos around you rather than the ability underneath you. Zane Smith said it directly. At Daytona, if the help is not there, your run simply dies. That is the reality of what this package has created at superspeedways. A sport at a crossroads. So when the biggest race of the entire NASCAR calendar ends with drivers openly calling moves reckless, when the winner does not know if he has actually won, when the garage is filled with genuine anger and frustration, that is not just Daytona madness. That is a warning sign. This sport is standing at a crossroads right now. And the question being asked inside that garage is direct and important. Do you accept chaotic pack racing and fuel-saving chess matches that explode on the final lap as the permanent identity of superspeedway NASCAR? Or do you change the car, take the risk, and try to bring back the handling, the separation, and the individual skill that once defined the greatest races this sport has ever produced? Because if the Daytona 500 becomes this kind of finish every single year, if the crown jewel of the sport consistently ends with metal folding across the line and half the field furious in the garage, that debate is only going to get louder. And the pressure on NASCAR leadership to respond is going to grow every single week. Here at NASCAR Wire Report, we will be watching closely. Because how NASCAR responds to what happened at Daytona could define the direction of this entire era of the sport. The drama was real. The emotion was real. Tyler Reddick's win was real, and it was earned. But the frustration inside that garage was just as real. And this season is not going to let any of it settle quietly. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was that just classic Daytona chaos? Or is the next-gen package turning the greatest race in NASCAR into a ticking time bomb every single February? We want to hear from you. Hit that like button, subscribe to NASCAR Wire Report, and stay locked in. Because if the Daytona 500 was any indication of what this season has in store, buckle up. The storm is just getting started.